Tiende pamoja ni mtima umo. 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 Tiende pamoja ni mtima.
Welcome to MTN Teleschool. My name's teacher Mudemba. I'm an expert in science, and today we are going to revise the Integrated Science Paper 2, 2019, internal. We are going to look at the first question, and the first question is dealing with the question based on the human body, and it reads, the diagram below shows a fetus in the uterus of a pregnant woman. We have a diagram here, and it has labeled. Now, before we answer the questions that are coming after, you need to have information and some background information based on this topic, which is on the human body, to dealing with reproduction. This question is typically dealing with reproduction. What is reproduction? In simple terms, we can say that reproduction is the process by which humans or mammals produce their young ones. Their young ones or offsprings. Okay, for reproduction to take place, there are organs that are involved for reproduction to take place. These are female and male reproductive organs. Yes. Now let's look into the details of these two organs. We'll begin with the parts that are involved, that are present in a male reproductive organs, and parts that are present in a female reproductive organ. So we'll begin with a male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ has parts such as the penis, we have the urethra, we also have the testes. When they are two, they are called testicles, but if it is one, it is a test. Plural testicle. Then we have the epididymis. We also have the scrotum. Yes. Now, these parts, for us to know them, for you to know them properly, let me illustrate them using a diagram, and we show the labels clearly. A male reproductive organ looks like this. looks like this. We also left one part, which is the bladder. The bladder is also part of the male reproductive organ. Okay. So this is the bladder, which is also supposed to be here. Bladder. We have the sperm duct. We have the testicle. I said they are called testicles when they are two. Plural, they are called. One is called, in short, it's supposed to be singular. Here is supposed to be testicle. Singular. Then we have this part, which is known as the epididymis. This one is the urethra. Then we have the penis. These are some of the parts that are found on the male reproductive organ. Now, we need to go into the details of the functions of these parts that are found on the male reproductive organ. So, when we look at the epididymis is, its function is to store sperms. Epididymis. Its function is to store sperms. When sperms are produced in the testicle, they are stored in the epididymis. Epididymis is a coiled structure. It has got a coiled structure to increase the surface area for the storage of sperms. This is why even on this diagram, it is showing that it is coiling so that it can store sperms when they are produced by the testicles. So the testicles, or the testicle, produces sperms. Then we also have a sperm duct. Its function is passage. It's a passage of sperms during ejaculation. When there is ejaculation, sperms have to move from the testicles and going as they are going into the vagina for fertilization to take place. They pass through the sperm duct. We have the urethra. The urethra, its function is the passage for sperms. Number two, it's a passage for urine. Passage of sperms and urine. As urine is coming from the bladder, going out, it has to pass through the urethra. And as also sperms are passing from the testicles, from the epididymis to the vagina, they also use the same route. Then we also have the penis. Its function is to deposit sperms into the vagina during sexual intercourse. Okay, so its main function is to deposit the sperms into the vagina during sex. So, having said that, let us look also at the female reproductive organ. We are also going to use the same format where we are going to bring in the diagram, and then we label, and then we state the functions of each and every part, so that as we will be coming to answer the questions which are here, we will have a very clear picture of what we are talking about. In fact, it will even be very easy, because we are going to touch a lot of concepts which are very much important for your revision as you prepare for the exam. So a female reproductive organ can be illustration. Let's see the illustration. Illustration here. Using a diagram, we have a structure which looks like this. Okay. Okay, this is a structure for the diagram for the female reproductive organ. This is known as, this part is known as the ovary. The ovary produces the ovum, which is a female sex egg. Also this is an ovary. Even this side we have another ovary. Another ovary there. Ovary. This is known as walls of the uterus. Similarly, even this part is also the uterus. This one is known as the oviduct. Oviduct. The other name for the oviduct is known as the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. So, we also have this part, which is the cervix. Then we have this part also, the vagina. The vagina. The vagina. Okay. Now, we need to look into these now parts in detail and find out what functions they perform in the female reproductive organ. We'll begin with the oviduct. The oviduct, like I said, it is also known as the fallopian tube. The other name for the oviduct, it is known as the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. This is the main function of this oviduct or the fallopian tube is the passage of the ovum, the passage of the ovum when it is released from the ovary. Passage of the ovum when it is released from the ovary. The ovary produces the ovum. So as it is produced, it will start moving towards the uterus through the fallopian tube or through the oviduct. Let's look at another part, which is, like I have said, when we look at the ovary, of course, the function is already known to say to produce the ovum, to produce the ovum. The ovary produces the ovum. How about the uterus? Uterus. The function of the uterus is for implantation of a fertilized egg. Implantation of the fertilized ovum. When the ovum is released by the ovary, as it moves towards the uterus in the fallopian tube, when it meets with the sperm cell, that ovum is fertilized. The moment it is fertilized, it will still continue moving its journey until it implants itself on the walls of the uterus. Meaning, it can implant itself at this point. It can also implant itself at this point or at this point. All these are the walls of the uterus of which this ovum or a fertilized egg, which becomes a zygote. When an ovum becomes fertilized, it becomes a zygote. Then this zygote will be implanted on the walls of the uterus. The vagina, this one is used as the it is used to receive sperms during sexual intercourse. During sexual intercourse, the vagina is used to receive sperms. Then we also have another part, which is the cervix. The cervix, this one is this one secretes a fluid that protects the sperm cells from damage during sexual intercourse. And the other function is it closes the uterus during when the woman is pregnant. The moment a woman is pregnant, the cervix closes. If the cervix opens during pregnancy, there will be premature birth, meaning there will be a miscarriage. So the function of the cervix, the main function of the cervix, is to close the uterus when fertilization has taken place to avoid miscarriage. So we are saying that to close the uterus when fertilization has taken place to avoid miscarriages. Miscarriages is a process where the zygote is just implanted, and before it even becomes into a fetus, then the cervix opens and then the baby, the fetus and the embryo, they are destroyed. So we shall talk more about fertilization. That is our next stage. So these are some of the parts that are found on the female reproductive organ. Now, let's look at fertilization. Fertilization. Fertilization is simply defined as the fusion of the sperm cell with the ovum to produce a zygote. Fusion or joining of a sperm cell with the ovum to form a zygote. This takes place in the fallopian tube. I must emphasize this point to say that fertilization takes place in the fallopian tube. What is the other name for the fallopian tube? I stated to say that it is also known as the oviduct. Where does fertilization take place? It takes place in the fallopian tube. So fertilization is the fusion or joining of the sperm cell with the ovum to produce a zygote, where in the fallopian tube. Now, the other point that you need to take note is that only one sperm cell fertilizes an ovum. It's not a lot of sperm cells that fertilize an ovum. It is just one sperm cell that fertilizes an ovum to produce a zygote. Okay. Now let's look at implantation. Implantation is simply the joining of or the attachment of the ovum to the walls of the uterus. Attachment of the ovum to the walls of the uterus. When implantation takes place, where it attaches where the ovum or the zygote, where the zygote attaches itself to the walls of the uterus, a part known as the placenta is formed. The placenta is formed. A placenta is formed when the zygote attaches itself to the walls of the uterus. Okay, now let's go to our question and find out what it is demanding. The diagram below shows the fetus in the uterus of a pregnant woman. Question number A. Identify the structure labeled G and H. So when we look at our diagram there, part H is the amnion. Part H is the amnion or the amniotic sac. Part G is the umbilical cord. Umbilical cord. What is the function of the amnion or the amniotic sac? 1, to prevent to prevent the fluid from leaking. The fluid inside the baby, which is the amniotic fluid, it is not supposed to leak, so it has to be protected by the amnion or the amniotic sac. Umbilical cord, this is the passage of oxygen into the baby, into the fetus, and it is also the passage of carbon dioxide from the baby to the, from the fetus to the mother. Remember, the baby at this time, every food, every oxygen or the water that it needs, any excretion that takes place in the fetus, it has to pass through the umbilical cord. So it is the passage of the oxygen and oxygen to the baby, oxygen to the fetus, and carbon dioxide from the fetus to the mother's blood. This takes place using two blood vessels, which is the artery and the vein. We know that in arteries we have oxygenated blood that passes through it, and then we also have deoxygenated blood that passes through the veins. Number 1B reads, state the function of structure I. States the function of structure I. When we look at our diagram, structure I indicates the amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid. So the function of the amniotic fluid, according to the marks allocated on this question, it is 1 mark, meaning they are looking for 1 correct answer. Now I'm going to give a variety of answers so that you can choose from the same answers. So 1, we can say it acts as a lubricant. Acts as a lubricant when the baby, when the fetus is turning in the uterus. In the uterus. So when the baby is turning in the uterus, this amniotic fluid acts as a lubricant. Number 2, it hydrates the fetus. When we say hydration, it provides water to the fetus. The other point is it helps to maintain the body temperature of the fetus. The other point that you can also take note is this amniotic fluid, it also prevents the baby, the fetus, from the effects of external shock, whereby when the mother is shaking or there is an impact on the stomach of the mother, that impact cannot reach the baby because it is protected by the fetus, by the amniotic fluid which is part I. Let's move on to question C. Question 1 part C reads, complete the stage of embryo development by filling in the blank spaces 1 and 4. So there are 4 stages of embryo development. Number 1, we have a zygote. Number 2, we have the embryo. Number 3, fetus. And number 4, we have now the baby. Like I said in the beginning, when the ovum is fertilized, it will form a zygote. After 2 to 6 weeks, that fetus, zygote will change into the embryo, and then it will develop into the fetus until it becomes a baby. So those are the 4 stages which are important. And these, according to this question, we were asked to complete the stages, of which the options are 1 and 4, of which option 1 is supposed to be a zygote, and the last part, which is part 4, is supposed to be a baby. Let's move on to part D. Part D, we have a question. It reads, if the fetus in the diagram was conceived on 20th February, 20th February, this 20th February this year, predict the date of delivery. Now we are looking at the gestation period here. The gestation period is a period when from fertilization up to birth. So we are looking at the gestation period. What is the gestation period? Of which we know that gestation period is supposed to be 9 months. 9 months or 270 days or 40 weeks. Now we can say 40 weeks, but it can be in the range. Even here we can say 9 to 9.5 months. We can also say that 266 days to 270 days in terms of days, and then in terms of weeks we can say 38 to 40 weeks. That is the gestation period. Now, according to the question that we've been given, we are asked to calculate in terms of months, of which we are going to make an estimation. An estimation in this way, we are going to count from February, of which we will say February, March. March is the first month. March, that's 1 month. April, second month. May, that is third month. And June, fourth month. July, fifth month. August, that's the 6th month. September, that's 7th month. October, 8th month. And in November, we have the 9th month. So now the range is, this baby can, this gestation period can be in November. Now, according to the date that we had February. So meaning, if it is 20th February, any date from, if you write any date from 18th to 25th, 18th, sorry, from 18th November, 18th November, then we have 18th November to 1st December. We expect this child to be born within this range. Why? Because due to some certain factors. So any answer within 18th November up to 1st December, it is correct. Let's move on to question 2. Question 2 is it's dealing with health, under health. And under health, we are looking at nutrition. And the question reads, below is a part of a children's clinic card for a particular child. So there's a clinic card that has been provided here for a particular child. Then question A is reads, question A reads, from the card, state 1, the month the child was born. State the month the child was born. According to this card that we have here and the dots that we have, the information that we have here is showing us that this child was born in February 84. February 1984. Then the following month, that's when he was taken for checking for this normal child's clinic. So the correct answer for this one is February 1984. Our second part of part A reads, the month the child's growth was below normal. Which month was the growth of this child not normal? Now, when you look at this this card, let me just give a simple illustration here. We have two lines. If you observe on this card, we have two lines like this. These two lines, meaning the growth of the child is supposed to be within the range of these two lines. Below, it is not normal. Above also, it is above normal. So now we have to check at a point at which point was this child not growing properly according to the question. The month the child's growth was below normal. Below normal, meaning anything above or below here, it is supposed to be considered to be abnormal. Now, it is not above normal but below normal, of which we have months like March 1985 or April 1985. Within these 2 months, you have to choose one. So there are two answers here. If you say March 1985 or April 1985. Within these 2 months, that's where the child was not growing properly. If you check on that one, you find there is a dot somewhere there, and then it is joining to the other month there, and then the next month we are shown a dot which is somewhere there, meaning these 2 points are below, and the other one is somewhere there. I'm just trying to make a sketch here, but the correct diagrams is showing clearly what it is. So these 2 points, they are below, meaning when a child was taken for the antenatal clinic on this date, it was discovered that in March the growth was below, and in also April 1985 the growth was below normal. Let's go to part B of the same question, and it reads, state 2 reasons could have led to the child's failure to change the weight between September 85 and October 85. So when we look at the diagram here, between October and September 85 and October, we'll see that the weight of the child was not changing. What were the factors that contributed to that? So factor number 1, it was one, poor nutrition. Nutrition. Meaning lack of a balanced diet. Balanced diet. Some nutrients were missing. Some food nutrients were missing in this child. And then we have another point which could have contributed to this one. This could be sicknesses. Maybe this child was sick. Due to sickness, you would find that there is no growth. There will be no growth in a child. There will be stunted growth because of that sickness. So one of these answers are the correct ones to put on that one. Okay, let's move on to part C. State 2 benefits of taking the child to clinics, to children's clinics. State 2 benefits of taking a child to children clinic. Number 1, when a child is taken for children clinic, number 1, he will be immunized. Or we say one of the benefits, one is for immunization. Immunization. The second one is to check the growth of the child. Growth of the child. Number 3, the third point is to check, to get advice, nutritional advice for the baby's growth. For nutritional advice. So these are some of the answers that were expected to be provided on question 2. And we move on to question 3. Question 3. Question 3 is still looking at plants and animals, and on this part it is looking at the fertilizers or the nutritions that are found in plants. Before we go into answering this question, I want to state that to look at the plant nutrients. Plant nutrients. We have 3 essential plant nutrients. There are 3 essential plant nutrients, namely nitrogen, phosphorus, and we also have potassium. Given by the letter K, this one given by the letter phosphorus, given by the letter P, and the nitrogen given by the letter N. Now, these are essential plant nutrients. Meaning, lack of one of these, a plant will not grow well. Plant will turn yellow. Plant will have a stunted growth. A plant will not grow properly. Now, we also have trace elements. These are essential. We also have trace elements. Those smaller elements which are also important for the same plant nutrients. But these are the most essential. Even when you look at the bag of fertilizer, you'll find that it is written NPK. N for nitrogen, P for phosphorus, and K for potassium. Now, where do we get these? Where can we find these sources of plant nutrients? These can be found in 1, fertilizers. These fertilizers can be categorized into 2 classes. We have what are known as inorganic fertilizers. We also have what are known as organic fertilizers. Inorganic fertilizers are also known as chemical fertilizers. They are produced by industries. Okay, now let's go into our questions now. Name 2 inorganic fertilizers. Question A, 3A. 2 inorganic fertilizers. Number 1, you can choose 2 of the following. I'll give a variety of them. We have urea. We also have ammonium nitrate, and then we also have compound D. We also have compound X. We also have sulfate of ammonia. So I've given a variety. These, we can choose 2 of these and the answer is correct. Let's move on to part B. Part B, the question reads, state 2 effects of excessive use of inorganic fertilizers. You remember these inorganic fertilizers, I mentioned to say that they are chemical fertilizers. They are produced by industries. So excessive use of these fertilizers will bring an impact on the following, can bring the following impacts on the soil and even on other living organisms. Number 1, it kills living organisms in the soil. Remember, for nutrients to for plants to grow well, there should be decomposition of other things like plants, so that the soil remains fertile and the humus is maintained. Now, you find that if excessive use of these fertilizers, inorganic fertilizers, it will cause that. Then it will also cause the soil to be acidic soils. Excessive use of that will lead to soil acidity. And also water pollution, where when they are applied and then it rains, you find that all the fertilizers, all the chemicals, they are swept into the river, and you find that it is going to cause water pollution. We go to part C. Part C reads, give 1 way of reducing adverse effects of these fertilizers. Now, these effects that we have observed, what can we do? We are asked to find ways that we can bring in to make sure that we reduce the adverse effects of this. Number 1, we can use, or let me say, we plant legumes. We plant legumes by practicing crop rotation. Then the other point is we can use agriculture lime. This lime will neutralize the acids that are found, that have been caused by these chemical fertilizers, and it will help the soil texture to be improved, or the adverse effects of these chemical fertilizers to be reduced. So these are some of the reasons we can choose one of these answers, and then we move on to part D. Give 1 example of an inorganic fertilizer. As I gave an example here of organic fertilizer to say that they are produced by chemical industries, or they are also called chemical fertilizers. These organic fertilizers, these are naturally produced fertilizers. The examples includes compost. We also have manures. When I say manures, I mean it can be chicken manure, it can be pig manure, and all those. These are the examples. Now here we have been asked to list an example, one example of an organic fertilizer, of which number one we can say that it is compost. We have compost. Then we can also say chicken manure. All those are correct answers. Manure. We also have pig manure. We also have cow dung. All those. There are a lot of examples. So we can choose one example there, and we are warm and dry. It's very simple because when you are answering such questions, at least you are able to apply. You are able to remember things that you do. I'm sure most of you have gardens, backyard gardens, and you have done a bit of farming here and there. Okay, let's move on to question 4. Question 4 is dealing with density. Now, before we go into the details of this question, I want to take some time, and I need you to pay attention, as I will try to bring one or two concepts so that you are able to approach this question and you don't have a lot of challenges. Okay. Now, first of all, let's define density. Density is mass per unit volume. Density is mass per unit volume. Okay. Given by the formula, density is equal to mass over volume. Per means over. Per means over. Mass is measured in grams, and volume is measured in cubic centimeters or in mils. So where we see mil, 1 mil is equal to 1 cubic centimeter. 10 cubic centimeters is equal to 10 mils. So mil and cubic centimeters, they are one and the same. Therefore, the units for density are grams per cubic centimeters or grams per mil. Okay. Now, when we look at this question, we cannot answer this one without the knowledge on how to find the volume of a regular and irregular solid. Volume of a regular solid. Volume of a regular solid. A regular solid, an example can be, let's look at this cube. Let's look at this cube here, where we have this. If this is the height, this is the length, and this is the breadth. Volume is given by L times B times the height. This is for the regular solid, where we can also, or we say volume is equal to area times the height. Why? Because area is equal to L times B, of which this L times B is the same as that, which is equal to that. So, volume, let's look at the volume of an irregular solid, e.g. a stone. This one is found using a measuring cylinder, or an overflow cane. Okay, now according to this question that you've been given, we have been given a measuring cylinder, which is measuring in cubic centimeters. Then we also have been given this stone, this solid, which you don't know, it has got no shape. An irregular solid is a solid that has got no shape, no definite shape. So therefore, we have been given a measuring cylinder and we've been asked to find this. For example, if I have this as a cylinder, then it has a volume maybe of 10 cubic centimeters. Okay. We also have the same. Okay. We have this also. Meaning, when I put a stone here, for example, the volume has risen to 15 cubic centimeters. To find the volume of this one, I'll call this one as V1 and this one as the V2. This one. And this one as the V2. So, to find the volume of a stone, I will say V2 minus V1 is equal to volume of a stone. This is my stone here. Volume of a stone. In this case, I will say 15 cubic centimeters minus 10 cubic centimeters. It will give me the volume of a stone, which will be 5 cubic centimeters. This is how we find the volume of an irregular solid. Having this information, then we can go into our question, answering our questions. Number A. Number A, the question is, what is the mass of a liquid? When you look at these diagrams, 3 diagrams, we have part C. Part C, the question reads, name 2 gases that make up other gases. Name 2 gases that make up other gases. Under other gases, we have 1, water vapor. Then we also have hydrogen. We also have xenon, neon, and so on and so forth. All those gases that are found in group 8, they are also found under other gases. Okay. Now let's we can pick 2. 2 of these. The answers will be correct. Let's move on to to part D. What gas is used to harden vegetables? What gas is used to harden vegetables? Now, amongst all the gases that I've mentioned there, or the gases that are found here, we are asked now the gas that has properties which are used to harden vegetables. Let me go into a few properties of the 4 gases, meaning nitrogen. We have oxygen, carbon dioxide, also hydrogen. Okay, nitrogen gas is used to fill in bulbs, filling in bulbs. It is also used to make fertilizers. And so on and so forth. Oxygen, it is used in hospitals, in ventilators. Like this time of COVID-19, you find that a patient who has been diagnosed with the COVID-19 is taken to a ventilator. That ventilator helps the patient to inhale oxygen, and it also draws carbon dioxide out of the lungs. So this is one of the healthy function of oxygen. The other one, it is used in incubators. In incubators. Now, used in incubators. Incubators. When a baby is born prematurely, is put in the incubator, and in the incubator there they also put oxygen. The other industrial purpose is for welding. For welding. Welding. This oxygen is also used for welding. Okay, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is used in carbonated drinks. Carbonated or fizzy drinks. Fizzy drinks. Drinks. Then you also have another use for this carbon dioxide, which is used in fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers. Why? Because carbon dioxide does not support burning. Therefore, when you just use carbon dioxide in a fire extinguisher, it's able to extinguish or put off a fire. Okay, we move on to hydrogen. Hydrogen is used Hydrogen is used in vegetable hardening. Vegetable oil hardening. Vegetable oil hardening, we use hydrogen. This property of hydrogen, you also learn about it more in chemistry when you go to senior grades. You're able to understand more on this one. But at this stage, we can safely say that it is used for. And this is the answer that you are looking for. Therefore, the correct answer for D, it is hydrogen. Hydrogen is the one that is used for vegetable hardening. So, that is on question 5 on materials and energy, that is dealing with composition of air.
Okay, let me know how it goes.
I will. I need to go now.
And don't forget to check up on your brother.
Ziba, Mami. I will. I really need to go. Nisa Chedwa.
And also wish your dad a happy birthday.
Bye. Ish, my mom. She never stops talking, but I'm not complaining because I love our conversations. And MTN's 777 Just For You makes life and communication so much easier. Especially for a student like me, cause Sini Sevenza just yet. So, with 777 Just For You, I get special discounted data and voice bundles that allow me to do my schoolwork with ease and keep up with the latest trends online. I get to call my family and friends, plus there's also a gift folder. To cut the long story short, I talk more and browse longer. That's my mom. I better video call my dad and brother before class. MTN gives you so much more with 777 Just For You. Enjoy amazing day and night bundles, super fast 4G data bundles, Loco Nilaka, and more. Plus, you also get a special gift from us. Simply dial *777# and select an offer of your choice. Sekelela, we are on your side.
MTN.